Welcome, guys, to the ILW pod. I'm your host, as always, Justin Wright. Today, we are welcome with CCW star Domino. How we doing, man?
Doing all right. We're doing well. We're doing well. Just had some a nice Cuban dinner, so we're energized.
Good. That's what I like to hear, especially on the podcast. Fun to get you guys on here when you're ready to go.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, man.
100%. Like I said off camera, this is something I enjoy. I'm glad that you're excited to get on here, um, and it's a great platform to get on here and just share your story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before I get into any questions, I like to throw all the plugs and social media stuff out at the beginning, just to, maybe the audience will see it a little sooner. Do you
Yeah.
have any social medias, merchandise, anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, so my merch, I definitely I like to have that one-on-one experience like with the fans and with guests that come. So all my merch is available at all our shows that we host every weekend here in South Florida with CCW. As far as my socials, it's at Domino CCW both on X and Instagram.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Uh, I will start where I always start for these podcasts. This is the I Love Wrestling podcast. I have a story for when I fell in love with wrestling. Do you have a story for when you fell in love with wrestling and how did you find it?
Yeah, for me, it was, I mean, we were watching it, me and my older brother watching it as kids, but like that moment that always sticks out as far as like having that like irresistible just love for continuously wanting to watch wrestling was the thought and memory I always have is me and my brother going to Blockbuster, not to date myself, but going to Blockbuster every weekend. And because, yeah, I think the rentals, VHS rentals were what, 5 or 7 days.
Yeah.
Uh, so every weekend we'd go and just re-rent the same classic Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon first ladder match, and we would just rewatch that WrestleMania and rewatch it every weekend and re-rent it. So that's like the first like real like memory, vivid memory I have of just being like obsessed with like wrestling and then wanting to do it. But for sure is
Well,
those blockbuster memories are definitely the most vivid for me.
definitely. Was it something that you like paid attention to throughout your adolescence and into your teens?
Yeah, yeah, I continued to watch. There was an era there where I kind of stopped. But yeah, for the most part, my entire childhood, my entire teenage years, high school, it was always definitely something I was, hooked on, and I had the wrestling bug.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, it was something that I've always, appreciated and had a passion and love for as a child for sure growing up. It's definitely a part of my life since I was born, as far as I can remember.
I can relate completely. You
Yeah.
know, part of that for me was always getting to go to like live events or indie shows, stuff like that. Was that something you was able to do growing up?
Yeah, not as much. It was a little challenging because my mom, I grew up with a Cuban single mother and not knowing the English language at all, working two jobs just to try to raise me and my brothers. It was difficult to make these things, to make them happen. But there were moments where, yeah, like I remember we went to like one Monday Night Raw. That first Monday Night Raw she took us to was, a memory I'll remember for the rest of my life. Watching wrestling and live in person and just seeing the production and the spectacle that it was. Sitting there with my brother, who I watched that WrestleMania tape every weekend, and but being able to experience that live is a moment that will resonate with me forever. And then appreciating it because it was difficult for my mom to want to like do these things for us. So that just adds to like the love for it more because I appreciated those moments because they were tough to come by.
When did you know it was something that you wanted to pursue and do for, as a career?
So I'm gonna be honest, I of course had the vision of wanting to do it always. I mean, I'm sure you can relate as a child. I'm
Yep.
sure you always wanted, but it wasn't something that I actually thought I would do until very later on, like in different ventures in my life that I've been able to use, I guess, that wrestling persona, if you will. I've been in the hospitality industry. I was in the hospitality industry, and yeah, with different things that we did, my character, my personality was able to just shine. So I was able to incorporate wrestling in that aspect, but never thought that I would actually pursue this as a career until exactly 2 years ago. I started training January of 2 years ago, exactly 2 years ago. And it was an opportunity that came, and I remember just being extremely motivated at the time. An opportunity came, and I was like, you know what? I'm not getting any younger. I didn't want to live my life in the future living with regret, and asking myself in the future, asking that younger version of myself, like, damn, why didn't you do it? Why did you take that opportunity and train when it came? So yeah, so I'm a firm believer of taking yourself out of your comfort zone is how you grow. And again, I wanted to pursue something I was passionate about. I was in a time in my life where I wanted to continue to take myself out of my comfort zone. I wanted to keep growing. I wanted to pursue things that I was passionate about. And yeah, and here we are now. And here we are now. But it's I always wanted to do it, but it was never something I thought would actually happen until it actually happened.
Okay. How did you go about like finding a training school and actually get the ball rolling?
So that all started. So at Coastal Championship Wrestling, CCW, it's based out of Pompano. They've been around for over 20 years. And then Nelly Costa, he joined forces with the founder, Dan Ackerman, about 6 years ago. He took over. And so they started doing shows at a local brewery. Me being involved in the local brewery scene down here in Miami and operating a wrestling themed craft beer bar. Um, that brewery came up to us and they're like, hey, we're going to start doing wrestling shows. We would love for you to be a part of it, knowing that we were like the wrestling hub for people to come and watch shows that we would air on Sundays, Saturdays, whatever pay-per-view event. And so then they invited us to be kind of like the spokesperson, right? For any like beer spots during these shows to come hype up the crowd. So that for me was a dream, just stepping foot into the ring for the first time to pass out beer and hype up the crowd. And just my natural, just me. Just I love doing it. I get on the mic, I can hype some people up. So that was just me. And then I did that about 5 times. And then somebody came and gave me from behind and gave me a waistlock takeover and suplexed me onto the ground. And it was the first time getting physical in the ring. And I was like, that's what sparked like okay, I'm gonna pursue this. So I remember talking to the owner and one of our current wrestlers now, Jackal Stevens. I remember just telling me, like, hey man, like, why don't you come and train? And it wasn't until that just like, damn, you know what? Like, yeah, why don't I just try this? And yeah, that's how it all started pretty much. And that's being familiar with already CCW, knowing that they provided training and knowing that Gangrel was the head trainer there, and having come across him a few times before I even started training, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this. And that's how that all started pretty much.
What was your experience like, training with CCW, and how long would you say you was in your formative training before you actually got to get in the ring and do a match?
So I started training January 3rd. I remember it was the first Monday of the year of 2023.
Okay.
It's when I first started. That was my first class. It's not easy. It's still not easy. It's still not easy. That's why for anybody that ever says like, oh, that stuff is like predetermined or whatever, it's like, look, come and train and you see and you form your own opinion, your own valid opinion, but don't have an opinion on wrestling until you come at least try it.
Yeah.
So it's still something that's very tough. It's you're putting somebody else's life in your hands and you're putting your life in somebody else's hands and there's a lot that goes into it. So, but in the beginning, it was very, yeah, very. I was very anxious driving over there. Didn't know what to expect. Didn't know what I was gonna feel, and yeah, I did that, and I dedicated 3 days a week of going to training and trying to be the first one in, last one out, mopping the floor, sweeping the floors, paying my dues. I still try to pay my dues. There's many people that have done this and that have come before me, but it was so I started training January of 2023. My first match I'd say was in August. So 8 months. It took me about 8 months to have my first match. And yeah, it was wild. I remember it like it was yesterday, and it happened to be in the same my debut match was at that same brewery that I was affiliated with. So it was like a home It was like I had home field advantage for my debut.
That's badass. It's kind of insane when you really think about it that your first match was in August, and then if you look at the end of that year, you're announced as the 2023 Rookie of the Year. So
Yeah.
within 4 months, you made the impression enough to get that honor of being Rookie of the Year. What was that like?
It's funny. It's actually I haven't shared this with many people at all, but before I signed up January of 2023, I went to the Coasties 2022, the month before, a few weeks before. So December of 2022, I signed up. I went as an invited guest. I just stayed in my lane and just, took it all in and was watching everybody, I was an invited guest for the holiday party, the Coasties. And I remember Joe Garcia, he won Rookie of the Year. And I was already flirting with the idea of possibly like, yeah, I'm gonna start training. And I saw him go up and accept that award for Rookie of the Year. And I remember, and I told Nelio, the owner of CCW, this. I told him, I was like, after the when I won it, I told him, I was like, when I saw Joe Garcia won this, I told myself that I was going to win this and I was going to be standing on that stage. And yeah, I dedicated myself. I put in the work and I made sure that I accomplished just that. So when I got up there, it felt very gratifying to be able to accomplish something that I set my heart to and my goals to. But again, that was just the first goal of many that I have lined up for myself.
Okay. Earlier we talked about Gangrel being the head trainer.
Yes,
Um, you had 8 months of training before getting in the ring. Was I would assume Gangrel was a big part in getting you ready.
of course.
What was that experience like getting to learn with somebody who is a veteran of this sport? And what was his feedback after your first match?
So it's never, there's always something to work on. There's always something. I know he was proud. I know he was happy. I had my moment, but it was very, all right, back to work. There's a lot to work on, you know?
Okay.
As far as training with him, when it's somebody that has been at the top of the industry in the biggest era of that, in the history of this industry, you listen to what they say.
Yes.
Whatever critique they have, you listen, you take it in, no arguing, yes, sir, because they've been there. And if they're taking the time to train you and they may see something in you, then you listen and you apply, what said person has for you. You know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely was listening to everything. He's the guy has been doing it for 37 years, 38 years now, and did it in the top, did it in WWE. So of course, anything he shared, any knowledge, I was all ears to. And till this day, I talked to him today. I talk to him, still talk to him every day. I have questions, I'll send them to him. I'm still learning, and he's still learning. That's the thing that he'll tell you himself. He still learns something every day, and he in every match that he still has, he's still learning something. So I try to be like a sponge, surround myself around his energy because I want to absorb, whatever knowledge he may have for me.
Something else I noticed was, early on the first couple months, and going into the following year, you participated in a lot of tag teams, 6-man tags. Um, what was it like, trying to get to know your not only your teammates, but be able to go out there and try to feel out your opponents?
It was interesting because in the beginning, yeah, I was tagging a lot. I was tagging with a specific group, the 5 Star Era, in Ricky Martinez and ERA, who both have been working for 15 years now. And
Okay.
Ricky's been in MOW, AEW. He's worked in 205 Live at WWE. He's worked at WWE before. So they've been doing this for a long time. So they took me under their wing because they're both the Miami Cats as well. So they took just another Miami boy like under their wings, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot, but I also learned a lot can go negatively, and they turned their backs on me, and I was forced to struggle with them for about 8 months after that. And so I learned a lot professionally, but I learned a lot as far as the ins and outs outside of the ring and who to trust and who not to trust in professional wrestling.
What was it like going from being in that team and then having them turn and then going and having a pretty decent feud with those guys. What was that like? That whole process.
It was very draining,
Okay.
emotionally, physically, especially with like family getting involved and things going, them burning my face with a hot Cuban coffee, smashing my birthday cake on my face. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot to deal with. However, I thank them. I thank them because if it wasn't for them not only taking me under the wing, I'll give them the credit. They took me under the wing in the beginning, but if it wasn't for them turning on me like that, and essentially they brought this aggressive side and this like dark side out of me, um then I want to say ever since they turned on me and ever since the end of that feud, I've been more intense and a more like aggressive wrestler, so I thank them, for turning me into this monster that I am now. So it's they brought this out of me, and then they definitely saw that they were on the receiving end of it as well.
Something cool that I noticed was, in the heat of battle, you've obviously had your scars, your wounds. Um, you've had the, I don't want to say privilege, but you've been busted open before. What
Yeah.
was that experience like? Getting color for the first time, and how
uh
how does that feel?
well, the first time it felt wasn't nice because it was when they turned on me and they smashed my head in with a chair,
Yeah.
and that was the first time ever getting hit by a chair. So that wasn't fun, but then it was just brought out like this like animal inside of me, right? Like this aggression, like this attitude, this new attitude that I needed, right? Because I was very timid. I was new. I was a new wrestler. I'm still new, I'm still green. I was a rookie at the time, and so I was very timid, like didn't know how to navigate myself and my style. So again, that brought out the aggressive. Like I knew I had to like step up, after that, and I couldn't let myself be walked all over. So yeah, there was definitely moments. It was definitely a blood feud. There was multiple moments where blood was drawn, and it got to a point. So it started for me like being shocked and like, oh god, like this is happening. So I'm sure there's videos on my socials. There's videos I posted before in that street fight, when we finally had that last one. I tagged with Gangrel and finally finished that feud. There's videos of me just like wiping my blood and just like licking it and being one with this dark side, I guess. Um, so it went from I feel like it's the metamorphosis of my character was the gruel, the gruesome, feud, that they brought out of me. Was all that blood they brought out of me, was it ended up bringing out this version of myself that needed to come out all along.
You mentioned your tag match with Gangrel, the street fight.
Yeah.
How did that really come about? Getting in the ring with Gangrel, and how did you feel afterwards, being able to, go into this rivalry match with, probably somebody who's had your back since day one.
Yeah, no, it's something I will cherish. I have a picture that I framed, that I will remember for the rest of my life, and a moment I will remember for the rest of my life. It's somebody that I've looked up to, that's my mentor, that I consider now a friend, not only my coach. And the fact that he wanted to be there, by my side for that match, again, it's something I'll remember for the rest of my life. Who better to, they came about because, there's two guys that were just getting the best of me, and it was 1-on-2. And then who better to have my side, especially when I had to tap into this like dark side that I had. Who better to tag with than the guy that created Domino? So again, it couldn't have been more poetic.
I saw some comments on social media asking, if tagging with Gangrel, does that make you a member of the Brood?
I maybe it's the Cuban brood. Maybe we're like the lo brother, just to add some Spanglish accent, some Cuban accent to that. The
I
brother,
like it.
an unofficial
uh,
brood, if you will.
I mean, it's really cool, especially, growing up. I'm sure you watched Gangrel or saw Gangrel on
Of
TV. So
course, of
not
course.
only being able to train with him, but to be able to participate in a match, with him has to be, an insane feeling. Do you think there will ever be like a chance for you guys to be on the opposite side of the ring against each other?
Um, I would hope so.
Okay.
although that may be extremely intimidating, but I would hope so. Um, because I would love to show him, I feel like that would be an honor to show him what he created and to win that. I feel like to get the ultimate satisfaction of like, I made you proud. The only way to obtain that, I feel like, is having that match with him.
Yeah.
So, of course, and of course, I'd want to show what he created and what way to see that because he could see me, but he has to be in there with me against me to really finally say like, all right, like you got this. So of course, I would love to. It's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be easy because Gangrel is a legend, but of course, that's I wouldn't say no to that at all because I feel like we do this because we want to be the best that we possibly can, and Gangrel is one of the best. So of course, I'd want to hopefully one day, who knows, maybe that happens.
So, something since the beginning of your career that you were chasing was the Southeastern Championship.
Correct.
How did it feel to finally be able to come and take that title from Jackal Stevens at Bash 44?
And so many emotions, so many emotions. It's just so many different layers because like I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you remember, I told you that Jackal was the one before I started training that
Yeah.
one day told me, hey, come train. And Labor Day weekend, so September, so it was the first week of September, Labor Day weekend of 2022, I was at the show watching as a fan in the front row, and the Southeastern champion at the time was Jackal Stevens. And then I made my debut during the Labor Day weekend and at Bash at the Brew. And then one whole year later from my debut, I'm challenging for the Southeastern Championship at Bash at the Brew. And then it means so much to me because it was the last Bash of the Brew at that venue, and that venue was such a special place for not only me outside of wrestling in the beer scene, but within wrestling, and then special to CCW as well. So to be able to do that, I live just 6 minutes away from Unbranded. It's my home brewery. It's in my hometown. So many friends, family members, colleagues, like were there. So many people that wanted to just come to see the last bash. So it was a special moment. And then to do it against the person that told me to come and train, it again, it's so those are like the beautiful parts of wrestling, right? Like how it all comes full circle, how there's many different layers to different stories. So yeah, that moment to be able to hold my first, and then a championship it's considered the Southeastern Championship, right? Like, and us being in the most southern east point of like Florida and Miami down here, and me being the Miami boy, the Cuban boy, like representing my culture and holding that type. Like, yeah, it just means in so many different levels. It means so much.
Is Well, do you feel there's any like a certain level of responsibility now after you've captured the championship and as you've been defending?
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially with I've been doing this for 2 years. I think I'm the fastest to obtain the Southeastern Championship. I feel like that's an added pressure. I feel like that adds a bigger target on my back. I know people are coming that want to come for that title. But I want to make an example. I want to make an example. I've said at the beginning of this year that last year I said it was my year to make my presence felt. My first year. This year, my goal is to make a statement and to show that I belong and that you need to come through me. And I'm taking this title out. Like I said, actually, I just did promo drop today for my match. My defense this weekend is like I want to make this the most prestigious title. If I'm holding it, then I want to make it the most prestigious title. And it's up to the current world champion to try to, make his championship the most prestigious. But my goal is to do the best possible job that I can at being a champion and a leader and a role model as a wrestler, but in the community as well, representing CCW.
100%. So far, you've had the title for quite a few months now. What would you say has been your biggest challenge and maybe your biggest defense?
I always say my biggest defense is the next one. My
Okay.
biggest defense is the next one. So every match is the biggest challenge. No, none have been more challenging than the other. The most challenging one is the next one.
Okay.
And then if we come through, if we're successful this weekend, my biggest challenge is the next defense right after that.
I like the looking forward, always looking for, hey, what's next? What can I do to improve? I like that because
Yeah.
it's rare these days. Sometimes people get lost or short-sighted.
Yeah,
So to always be looking at the future is definitely the right way to go.
course. My short term goal right now is I believe we're almost at like 200 days or 190 days or something as Southeastern champion. My goal, short term goal, is to get to being from the 305. We want to get to 305 days as
Okay.
Southeastern champion.
Do you think a year title reign is something that we could look forward to?
What was that?
Do you think a year title reign could be
I
something we looking forward to?
I can definitely tell you that it is my goal to be. I know it's gonna be tough. Meadow was undefeated, had the title for I believe 607 days. But yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
if I were to tell you, no, I don't know if that's gonna happen, then didn't take the title away from me. Then I shouldn't be champion. So absolutely,
100%.
I want to be 608 days. We're coming from Meadow Street.
Okay. Something that I've noticed that CCW has been very fortunate in the guys that they've been able to bring in. Guys like Malachi Black or Rich Swan or Chase Stevens, even. Um, I believe Matt Taven's also going to make an appearance here. Have you been able to, like, at any point, talk to any of those guys and pick their brains and try to learn more from these guys that have been maybe at the next level?
Yeah, there have been some times I've been able to have some like brief conversations. For the most part, for me, it's we're all there focused on trying to focus on our opponents. So, but for me, my goal is to always at least introduce myself, shake your hand, and have that energy transfer, right? Have that respect and energy transfer. At least I'm in the vicinity, shake your hand, energy transfer, and yeah, I think that's just a sign of respect. As far as learning, yeah, I try to pick everybody's brain. Even our current roster, the guys that have been there before me.
Yeah.
But especially with Gangrel, every day, I'm trying to think of a new question I can ask him, and just to pick up as much knowledge from and be a sponge for absolutely anybody that comes through that locker room.
Okay. Something that I'm always interested in is, who your guys' like inspirations are. So like obviously you grew up a wrestling fan. Like who are the guys that you looked up to the most?
Yeah, my two. I always say the two that I always, gravitated to, like the two top of all time, were Shawn Michaels and CM Punk. Are the two, that I try to model myself for respect. Razor Ramon is up there. And of course, portraying like the Cuban American, or I'm sorry, the Cuban gimmick. Being from Miami, of course, it was very heartbreaking when I found out he wasn't actually Cuban. um, but yeah, those two that I mentioned for sure, Razor Ramon. I know Gold Dust is somebody that I've learned to grow a lot of respect for. Just because the dedication, the fact that he can still go in the ring right now, and then the dedication to that character in the early '90s is tremendous.
Something else that I noticed very interesting about you is, when you come out, the crowd gives you quite the response. You always get very loud reaction, a very positive reaction, and some guys struggle to get that. What's it like, 2 years in, to already be getting those road warrior pops?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just grateful. It humbles me every time. Like, damn, like it's like that speech what's out of this actress, like, you like me, you really like me. I'm just grateful, man. I'm grateful that I can just be my organic, authentic self and that people can connect to it. And I think the thing is, I think they can relate to me, just somebody that just started doing this because I'm passionate about it. Much like I'm sure many people wish that they could have started it, but I actually, did it. And I think they can relate to me and they're living vicariously through me. I don't know. That's just a thought. I'm just grateful and blessed to be able to do this, pursue a passion, and the fact that people can relate to my journey and my wrestling story means the world. And I feel it. Like I do feel that I carry like these people on my back. Like we are one. Like when I talk in my promos or whatnot, like it just comes out. Like I won't say me or this. I say we. Like we are challenging so and so. Like we're coming through in our next title defense. Like yeah, I feel like we're doing this together as a community, you know. And I'm just grateful that they've been able to witness my journey as a professional wrestler.
I like how you said we, like, and it's great to see, I guess, that I don't want to say acknowledgement, but for like back lack of better words, acknowledgement that it's like it is a we, like all together. We're all in this
Yeah,
together. It's cool to see that you really embrace the reaction and the drive that the crowd gives you.
yeah.
It it's
I feed
it's
off of it. I feed off of it for sure. It's like taking a quick shot of Cuban coffee. It's a rush.
uh something fun I like to ask on here is I always like to ask a Mount Rushmore. Like, do you have four guys that you would consider the top of the mountain?
Um, I would say, let's say the three that I already said. You know
Okay,
what? Let's say the four. The four. It's gonna be Shawn Michaels, CM Punk, Razor Ramon, and Goldust. That's gonna be my Mount Rushmore. I
okay.
know it's
I've
it,
never had Gold Dust on that Mount Rushmore, so I
you
like it.
yeah, because you always it's always when I think of like again inspiration or like things to watch, like he comes up and as a like I respect it because of the dedication he put into that character and the fact that he's still working today, you know. But actually, I need to correct that because if not, I'm gonna get some heat. I need to put Gangrel in there, you know.
Okay, I I like it. And Gangrel, somebody also I've never got on there, and maybe doesn't probably get the respect he deserves.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Just with his entrance, his theme alone, you know, he deserves a spot with the theme alone.
Character work was crazy. Just the amount of like dedicate. I'm pretty sure. Like I read this somewhere. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he get vampire like implants for his teeth?
Yeah, yeah. No,
See, that's dedication.
his fangs were permanent there for a while. Yeah,
Does he still have them?
he still has his fangs. He has his fangs, and then he has a nice pair of some grills as well, embracing that South Florida culture. Some plant.
Are they gold grills or are they
They're
silver?
silver, silver. So they're
Okay.
like a white gold, I think, actually, or rose gold,
Oh, that's
something like that.
badass.
He actually just
Gangrel's
had.
getting classy nowadays.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Keeps banging and banging.
um, Seeing as how we are in January of this year, I think it's only fitting to ask, what do you, where do you see yourself, in December of this year, and what are your goals for 2025?
My goal is to continue to make my statement. I that I belong and I want to be at the top. I want to be at the top, and and I want to be. I feel like I want to be at the top for different reasons, right? Like I want to be the CCW World Champion. Like yeah, I'm focused on being the Southeastern Champion at the moment, but I know I'm gonna want. Like I want to be at the top, and the reason is because with being at the top becomes there's an even bigger responsibility, right? Um, representing the company, representing myself, but the reason I want that is because with that comes a bigger platform, and with that platform, I feel like you can just impact more people. So with that responsibility, with the bigger responsibility, I want that because I do want to embrace my culture, my community. I want to bring it to a bigger demographic and just expose that to as many people as possible. And then again, with that responsibility, impact and inspire as many people as possible. You know, so that's why I want to be at the top and why I want to be world champion and why my goals will continue to aim higher because again, the bigger the platform, the more responsibility, the more of an impact I have on my community.
Okay. Something that sometimes can inspire people is, just a simple word of advice. So, like, would you have any advice for somebody trying to break into this business?
Just do it.
Okay.
Just do it. Just get up and do it. And you know what? If you don't continue it, you be proud of yourself because there's many people that want to, millions of people that want to be a professional wrestler, but they don't try. But even if you just try, you should just be proud of the fact that you just tried. If you didn't like it, it wasn't for you, cool. don't think you're a quitter or you failed because you didn't succeed or it didn't work out for you. No, you should be proud that you got out of your comfort zone and you tried it. You know, you won't have to live with that guilt or that regret in the future. Like, damn, I never took the opportunity. So that's something. That's why just do it. Take yourself out of your comfort zone. You know what? Because even if you don't pursue it, you don't continue it, you're going to grow just from taking yourself out of your comfort zone. You know, there's an experience, a learning experience in that. And then something I would say, it's advice I got from Meadow, our current world champion. It's advice I got from Gangrel. And funny enough, I ran into Seth Rollins at that bar that I was telling you that I worked at. He was there, and I had just broken into the business, and I was at a point where I wanted to quit. I just didn't know why I was doing this to my body. It was wrestling's hard. This isn't easy, you know. And I was at a point where I thought I was just, you know what, this may not be for me. And what all three of them told me, and which I'll say now as a word of advice to anybody breaking in, is whenever you hit that wall, and all three of them told me the same thing. It's on separate occasions. Whenever you hit that wall that you want to quit, that's when you know you have to continue and that it'll all change for you right there. And I did. And I did. And it's crazy how it all just changed after that. So for anybody that's doing it, when you hit that wall, you think you want to quit, just push through. Just push through and it'll all work out.
It's great you said that because I think not only does that apply to wrestling, but it probably applies to just about anything in life.
Life, absolutely. Absolutely. When you want to give up,
Domin,
when you want to
sorry.
give up, yeah, but there's going to be moments where you're going to want to give up on many different aspects of life and just push through. Just push through and you'll overcome that side, you know?
Yeah, Domino, I just want to say thank you once again. I had a great time.
Oh, thank you.
Um,
Thank you. I
this was
appreciate it.
fun.
Hell yeah.
I always just like to say I'd love to have you on again in the future. Maybe we could do an update at the end of the year or
Hell
at the
yeah.
beginning of next year. See how long you've been holding that Southeastern Championship for. Maybe you'll have more gold for us.
Hopefully, that's for sure. Maybe maybe I just come out to your area and I'll bring you a Cuban sandwich and you give me a deep dish or something or a Chicago dog.
We can do that. We can do that. We'll make that work.
Even exchange. Oh yeah.
Man, I will just leave this at see you later then.
All right, hell yeah. I'll see you before the end of the year with more gold.
Sounds good.
And thank you for everything you do for the industry, for our platform, and for the love of professional wrestling.
Of course, it's if it even if it's a little part, I want to try to do my best to help. It's something that right now I'm not fully in the position to do what you do.
Of
So
course.
this is my way to give back as much as I can for something that I've loved for so long.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. Thank you for giving us the platform to be able to come on here and talk about professional wrestling.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
Oh yeah. Cheers, man. You have a good night.
You too.
All right.